This video is an update on what I have planted in my front yard raised bed vegetable garden along the front of that fence, which is about 50 feet across. I've drawn it out here just kind of for fun, and as a dad you try to do things that are fun for your kids to see as well, and for myself frankly. So it's my front yard raised bed garden. Right now it's May 2011, and I'm going to just show what I have planted. What I have, just for reference here, is a fence that's about 50 feet across between my driveway here and the next neighbor's driveway over there, and the street is right out there. I do not get any good sun really in the backyard for growing back there, so I do my growing out in my front yard. And I'll show you here that along that raised bed, which is about 10 or 12 inches high, and it's 2 feet out from the fence, the length of the fence along, and it's filled with compost and rock dust minerals. And here is my layout of what I have planted this spring. And just the way I think this through, I kind of think that my bed, which is again 2 feet from front to back, is long enough, is deep enough that I can reach everything in the back. And I have soaker hoses that kind of loop along the back and then along the front, and the same thing down at that side. So that gives me 2 rows to plant in, kind of the front row along the soaker hose and also the back row along the soaker hose. And I try to spread things out in terms of what I'm going to plant where. Along the front I have planted, we'll go left to right along the front, sweet basil, parsley that came up from last year, some marigolds, some basil. I've done a couple of 2 packets of basil planted from seed. The way I've laid it out here, anything I've drawn as a straight line, those are things that I planted from seed rather than as transplants. The basil, we absolutely love it, and it grows fantastic here. The parsley, as I mentioned, came up from last year, so I'm letting that continue. The marigolds are good for their edible flowers, and they also help to keep the deer away, or that's something that the deer doesn't eat. And also, again, since this is a front yard garden, I do want to maybe pretty it up a little bit by having a few splashes of flowers there, and still have them be things that are edible. Coming along the front here, I'll have celery, broccoli, anything that I've drawn in circle form here. Those are things that I've actually put in transplants of individual plants. So 3 celery plants, 4 broccoli plants, 4 transplants of collards, and then an area where I've planted some cantaloupe or muskmelons from seed, a bunch of spuds that my son and I planted out here by the corner, and then coming back the other way, 4 plants of peppers, a stretch of seeds for cucumbers, 4 plants of eggplants, some green beans, 3 of those that I've planted there, a stretch of seeds for yellow summer squash, sugar snap peas, and then 5 tomato plants. I've gone this year only with the small or kind of cherry-sized or grape-sized tomatoes. I tend to like those much better than the bigger ones for a couple of reasons. But anyway, these 2, I've got 1 plant that is a Sweet 100, and then 4 plants that are the sugary tomato, is what they're called. And then I've got some pansies out by the edge here, which are also edible flowers. There's some other edible flowers like nasturtium and things that I haven't planted yet, but I will get around to. So that's what it looks like on paper, and here's what it looks like in reality. I didn't draw this in, but I have a straw bale, which is actually how I got started with front yard gardening before I had a raised bed. I have videos on that as well. So again, going left to right along the bed, we'll zip along the front row and then the back row. Front row, as we mentioned at the edge, we have the edible flowers that are pansies, Swiss giants, mixed colors. Then I have my basil, sweet basil. We love, love, love how the basil comes out from here. It's way better than any basil I've ever eaten from a store or anything. Then again, we have our parsley from last year, and boy, here it's only May and it's almost waist high. Then a stretch of marigolds, dwarf bolero, coming along through here. Again, deer resistant edible flowers. more basil right here, coming along this stretch here. And you can see the soaker hoses, again, they kind of zip along that side and come on back, and the others zip the other way and they come on back. You can see where the soaker hoses end there. Here we have more parsley, more marigolds, crackerjack, mixed colors, and swinging along. And I marked these out kind of where anything starts and stops, the marigolds from there to there. Here I've got some celery that I put in from transplant. Here, yeah, so I have 3 of those celery plants. Hopefully the deer won't eat them this year, but you never know. And then have some broccoli. So I have 4 plants of broccoli here, and then getting into some collards, and 4 of those, and some cantaloupe, or also called muskmelon. My wife loves to eat those, so we'll see how I do at growing some. And then in this area over here, planted, a good few weeks ago, some potatoes, and you can already see the potato plants, plant part coming up above the ground. The potatoes, of course, are down below, and you can heap up more soil to give more space for more spuds to grow. I have a couple of gourds over there that are coming back from last year. I'm not sure if they're the birdhouse gourds. I did grow some of those around there last year. Coming back this way, I have pepper plants, so peppers. Cubanella, I believe, is the specific type. I have 4 plants of peppers, and then from seed along here, some cucumbers, Purpless Beauty, and you can just see those little sprouts starting to come up. I maybe planted these, a week or 2 ago. It's always exciting when I start to see it coming up. By the way, my philosophy is, since I have, my water source is on the other side of this fence, and so I have my soaker hose hooked up, actually 2 of them have 50 feet each, and it's on a timer so that I can control how much watering I do. And I plant right along the soaker hose with the idea that that way I am watering the plants that I want and not watering the weeds in between. And also, when things start to sprout up, it gives me a good way to keep track of, hey, is that a weed or is that something that I planted? If it's coming up right along the length of the soaker hose with a whole bunch of things that look the same, then sure enough, that's what I just planted there coming up. So it helps me as a relatively new gardener. I've only been doing this a couple of years. So anyway, moving on, after the cucumbers, we get to this stretch here where I have 4 plants of eggplants. Gretel is the variety. And then here I have some green beans. After that I have some squash. This is some yellow squash, summer squash. So that is along that stretch there, planted from seed. And then planted from seed over here are some sugar snap peas, which I love. Sugar snap peas. They're one of the things I can eat, right out of the garden. Doesn't even make it into the house. They are just so delicious. And again, you can see here how these sugar snap peas, which I planted a week or 2 ago, you can see them all sprouting through. And again, just kind of to my point about that helps me to know, those are the sugar snap peas, as opposed to if I hadn't labeled them or if I didn't put them in the stretch, a nice neat stretch right along the soaker hose, I might be wondering, hey, what's that thing? Is that a weed? But those are the sugar snap peas. So I'm excited to see those coming up. And then coming down to this last stretch here, I have 5 tomato plants, and 4 of them are what are called sugary tomato, and the other is Sweet 100. All of these are the small cherry or grape-sized variety of tomatoes. I like those because the big tomatoes, it just seems like you're kind of waiting forever for them to get ripe enough to harvest, and then the skin cracks on them if you get a big rainfall or an animal eats one of them, and then you feel like, boy, I just lost a significant piece of my crops, so to speak. Whereas if you just lose a couple of little cherry ones here and there, it doesn't seem to matter because you've got a gazillion more of them. So that's the general layout for my front yard garden for this spring, May 2011. The general philosophy is that I plant in the back row things that are going to need to trellis up the fence. And what I mean by that is that, for example, sugar snap peas or tomato plants, you can see here that I have hanging from the fence, I have this nylon lattice, or trellis, and I will basically let that drape along in front, and I will train the tomato plants and the sugar snap peas and other plants to grow up through the trellis, so that helps me to be able to grow vertically, which makes maximal use of space. So, for example, I can't have, I don't have the room really right here in this bed to have everything just growing all out over on top of each other. So this gets me 2 rows of things by having the stuff in the back. Mostly be things that I want to be able to train going up the trellis. So things like the tomatoes and sugar snap peas and squash and green beans and even the cucumbers and peppers, etc. Whereas some of the low stuff, like collards and broccoli and celery and basil, marigolds that aren't really going to grow up the length of a fence, I have those out front. I also have the stuff out front that the deer do not like to eat, like the marigolds and basil, although you could argue that I've violated that over here with the celery and broccoli and collards, so hopefully they won't get into that too much. And the other thing, you may notice that I have a few of these yellow flags around. That's not because I've treated it with pesticides or anything like that, but rather just as I'm planting, I use those are markers from irrigation from a sprinkler system when the guys come and work on those things. And I save those, and rather than throwing them out, I use them in kind of marking a few spots just as I was laying out what I was planting where here in my front yard raised bed garden. All right, well, that's all for now. I'm excited to have the growing season upon us, and hope you are too, and happy gardening.